Beast Wars Episode 6, Power Surge. Now this episode actually had a bit of a focus on the Predacons because it actually starts off with the pterodactyl Predacon, who I finally remembered the name is Terrorsaur, so it actually was super easy, I just kept forgetting. And he finds, basically, there's so much energon on the Earth at this point that it causes like this big mountain to actually float in the sky. And he kind of flies through it, and it has like a little valley in the middle with just a ton of energon floating around, or really sticking out of it. And so he flies through, and it's like, okay, I have to kind of take a small crystal at least. And so he transforms into his normal form, and they have this whole thing where they can't be in their robot form for too long because there's so much energon on the planet. So he does it, and it's like, I have to at least get this sample because he's surrounded by so much, it's going to affect him much faster. And he does something, and it kind of knocks him back, and all of this energon surges into him, and he gets an actual power surge, and he starts kind of glowing red and stuff, and he has, like, so much power that he goes and fights Megatron. Like, his first thing was like, I'm super powerful, I'm going to go destroy Megatron and take over the Predacons. So he goes to him, and he destroys Megatron. Like, once again, just like with Waspinator, Megatron should have been dead. He got just destroyed. He fell off a cliff. He hits a cliff. His arm flies off. Both his legs fly off. So it's just a head and a torso, and the head is like barely connected. It's like you can see the wiring stretched out a little. And I was like, he should be toast. Like, their eyes fade out as if they died, but that's just them passing out all the time. And I'm like, man, he should just be dead from this. He fell, and he has like part of the T-Rex skull on his back. One of the things broke off, and he's just hitting stuff as he's falling down. It was like the movie, like the old movie where he gets knocked off the cliff, and he's just like hitting stuff on the way down, and he's just done when he hits the ground. And it was just crazy. Like, I thought it was cool. I was like, holy crap, he just got destroyed. Like, he destroyed him, and he should have been dead. But he's like, alright, well, I've taken over. I destroyed Megatron, so I'm in charge. Where basically his whole thing was like, well, I got all this crazy power. Now we can actually go against the Maximals and take them on. And just as that's about to happen, he loses power. So he's like, okay, well, just stand guard, basically. Like, just hold on. And then I'm going to deal with something before we have our big attack. So he goes to get power, and he leaves Scorponok in charge. And Scorponok is like, okay, well, the first thing we need to do is actually restore our true master, Megatron. So that's his plan, is instead of listening to the Terrorsaur, we're going to fix him up. And once again, and I mentioned this before, they kind of put some hints in there, Tarantulas doesn't follow orders. He kind of does whatever he wants, because Scorponok is left in charge, or no, Tarantulas is left in charge initially, and then Scorponok is like, no, I'm second in command, I should be in charge. And Tarantulas is like, okay, then lead. And he just walks off, and basically he just follows Terrorsaur back to this mountain. And so it's Waspinator and Scorponok left there, and so they decide to rebuild Megatron and put him in like their healing chamber. And the rest of the episode is really about Terrorsaur trying to get this power and be stronger than everyone else. And of course, the Maximals find out about this, so they end up going to the source because Cheetor finds them. Is like the beginning of the episode after Terrorsaur gets this surge of energy. Cheetor sees him, and he watches him like beat Megatron and all this stuff. So he tells them like, okay, something, this is really bad. They're about to attack us, and he's got an insane amount of power. So Rat Trap and Optimus actually go back to the floating mountain, and it's like, alright, Rat Trap is like the demolitions guy, so he has like all the crazy explosives. So their plan is to go there and set these explosives and blow the charge so that Terrorsaur can't be, more powerful than them, because everything is fairly even. Even Megatron, like I mentioned before, Dinobot was like whipping him up, so he's really strong, but clearly the power surge was like an insane increase in abilities, and it was just too much that they wouldn't have been able to handle it. So the plan is for Rat Trap and Optimus to get there, and of course the only flyer on the whole Maximal team is Optimus because of the jetpack stuff. So he flies with Rat Trap up there, and they get there, and then they have to deal with Terrorsaur because he does end up showing up. And so the plan is for Optimus to take on Terrorsaur, and this is after he charges up again. So he has to take on Terrorsaur as Rat Trap sets up these explosives. And Tarantulas doesn't really do much. He finds out where Terrorsaur goes, and then he climbs up there. He throws like a grappling hook and then climbs up like a spider. And then he has a little moment with Rat Trap where they fight, and Rat Trap actually like knocks him off the cliff, and he falls down. So there's a lot of cliff falling in this episode, and Terrorsaur is dealing with Optimus, and Optimus eventually does get hit and he falls down and stuff, but he doesn't end up getting destroyed because, of course, the power surge drains once again, and that's when Terrorsaur finds Rat Trap setting these charges. So, fortunately for Rat Trap, Optimus didn't like full on die, and he comes back to get him, but he can't go into his maximal form because the power surge from the explosion would fry his circuits permanently and kill him. So as they have this giant explosion, Terrorsaur takes off because he knows it's over. And they do like the slow motion movie jump where it's like a big explosion and they jump off the thing. And it was really funny because they've done that, I think this is like the second or third time maybe, and it's only been a couple episodes really. And this giant, seismic explosion goes off and they're doing like the slow motion dive, like, oh, and there's fire and all that. And they fall insanely far, and fortunately, of course, they both end up living. But it was definitely a cool episode because I like the focus on the Predacons for this one, and it was on Terrorsaur, who I really felt like got the least, so far, has had like the least screen time out of all of the Predacons, because we always see Waspinator. He's always the one who does like the sneaky stuff, and they tend to show up at the same time because they're both the flyers. But I feel like even though Waspinator always has short sentences, I feel like he has been at least shown more than Terrorsaur, so I think that's kind of why they gave him a bit of a spotlight in this episode, because Tarantula's already had his thing with Cheetor. Obviously, Megatron is Megatron. Scorponok tends to always have an argument with Tarantulas, and that's kind of his whole thing, is that he's supposed to be second in command, but he always seems to be like right in the middle of the fights as well. And then you got like Terrorsaur, who's like meh. And, Waspinator's always got some scene. He's in like a ton of different scenes, it seems. But I thought it was cool. It was definitely a fun episode. They have like a crazy, super long dive, and it was really funny. Like they land in a tree, and Optimus is like, "Hey, could you hop off my back?" And like, cause he catches a branch, and he's like, "Hey, can you get off my back and release some of this weight?" And I'm like, he just jumped off of a floating mountain. He could have dropped like the extra 30 feet from that branch. I was like, I don't know. I don't understand why they need to stay in the branch. He could have just let go and be like, all right, we're good. Like, they landed on a branch and survived. I'm like, he could have easily dropped that extra 20 or 30 feet. And I just thought that was really funny. He was like, can you get off my back? It's really heavy. Or you're really heavy. To Rat Trap. I'm like, they just jumped like over it seemed like they fell like over a mile from how high they dropped. And then he couldn't drop like the extra 20 feet it took to hit the ground from the tree branch. I just thought it was really funny. I was like, they did like a skydive moment. And he's worried about, like, he can't just drop off the tree and be like, all right, let's walk home. But it was still a fun episode. I definitely enjoyed it. Like I said, I really enjoyed the focus on the Predacons in this one. And Megatron does show up at the end. That's kind of, I love the ending, actually, because they have Optimus and Rat Trap in the branch, and they have, like, the nice scene where they're watching kind of the explosion finish up. And then it cuts to Terrorsaur. He's like, man, I lost my big power source. And he comes back. End of the episode is super simple. Megatron just comes out of the shadows, and he's like, well, look who it is. And it goes like black and white almost, and Terrorsaur is just like, and then like it goes up after that because he was like freaked out, and it kind of cuts after that. So I thought it was a really funny ending because they gave him just like a crazy look of shock on his face. And I was like, that was a nice, funny little ending, but definitely a good episode. Like I said, Rat Trap got a bit of focus, had his fight with Tarantulas. He was definitely overpowered, or he should have been at least, because of the insane size difference. But it was really cool, and he definitely stood his own. Like, neither of them transformed because the energy was like way too much. So they were both in their animal forms, and he was still able to kind of take them on and ultimately defeat them and have them like fall off the cliff. So I thought it was really cool. It's like, all right, that's a nice little action scene, and Optimus was flying around a lot of flying action in this episode, which was pretty cool too. But definitely enjoyed it. I did actually watch 2 episodes in a row, so I'm going to do my review for the next episode, which is actually the last episode on Disc 1, so I'm just about to get to Disc 2, which I'm looking forward to. But, and I had like an epiphany after I finished this episode, and I was like, I could actually watch it, because normally I do shows where it's like the hour-long drama thing, and you have to watch them in order, but you can't, as far as reviews go, it's not a good idea for me to watch 2 episodes in a row because I'll know what's going to happen. But then I realized this is almost like, in a sense, it's like a sitcom show where it technically has an overarching story, but every episode is going to be a little thing, unless it's unless it's specified as part 1 and part 2. This episode won't have anything to do with the next episode, and I was like, I can totally do that with this show. So I might start doing that and reviewing multiple episodes at once if I have the time, or if I don't have the time to actually watch and then review. And that was the only reason I did 2 in a row, because I was like, well, I'm not gonna have time to review it, and I was like just eating cereal and stuff, and I didn't get up early. I was just eating cereal because I just woke up at like 1 or something like that, because I was up super late, and so kind of had that epiphany, like I don't really need to wait because the episodes are so separated, and the next episode not even remotely related to this one, so it definitely worked out fine. But really a fun episode. Definitely enjoyed the focus on it. Of course, if you guys have any comments, you can put them down in the comment section below. And of course, thank you guys for watching.